Hello everyone. Welcome to Synapse, your ultimate learning companion. Today, we are diving deep into the fascinating world of the human digestive system, specifically focusing on a crucial part, the food pipe, also known as the esophagus. We'll embark on a four-level learning journey, starting with the basics, moving to medium and hard concepts, and finally exploring the hardest, most advanced aspects. Get ready to uncover how this simple tube plays a giant role in moving your food. Ready to discover the superhighway for your food? Let's start with the easy stuff and understand what the food pipe is all about. So, what exactly is the esophagus? Well, it's basically a muscular tube, a pathway that connects your throat, or pharynx, directly to your stomach. Think of it as a dedicated tunnel for your food and drinks. It's a fundamental part of your digestive system, but unlike the stomach or intestines, its main job isn't to digest food, but simply to transport it efficiently. It ensures that whatever you swallow gets safely and quickly to its next destination for processing. It's a very important first step in the journey of your meal. Now, where is this food pipe located, and what does it look like? It runs downwards through your neck and then continues into your chest. It's cleverly positioned behind your windpipe, which is called the trachea, and in front of your spine. In adults, it's typically about 25 to 30 centimeters long. When it's empty, it actually looks like a flattened tube, but it expands beautifully to allow food to pass through. And how does it work? It uses a special wave-like muscle movement called peristalsis. This ensures food moves smoothly and in only one direction, towards your stomach, even against gravity. Alright, time to test your understanding. Think about these questions. First, can you recall what other name we use for the esophagus? Second, what do you think is the primary job or main function of this muscular tube? And third, try to describe the process of peristalsis in your own words. Take a moment, think it through, and see how well you've grasped the basics. Fantastic! You've mastered the basics. Now, let's peel back the layers and dive a bit deeper into the structure and amazing mechanics of your food pipe. Beyond just a simple tube, the esophagus is a highly evolved muscular conduit. Its primary role, as we know, is the mechanical transport of the swallowed food bolus from your pharynx to your stomach. It's crucial to remember that while food passes through, significant digestion doesn't occur here. Any minor salivary enzyme activity from the mouth might continue, but the esophagus itself doesn't secrete digestive enzymes. Its structure is perfectly adapted for its transport function, protecting against friction and ensuring efficient movement, making it a truly specialized part of your digestive tract. The esophageal wall is a marvel of engineering, composed of 4 distinct layers. Starting from the inside, we have the mucosa, lined with stratified squamous epithelium for protection against abrasion. Next is the submucosa, a layer rich in connective tissue, blood vessels, nerves, and mucus glands that secrete lubricating mucus. The muscularis externa is the power engine, with inner circular and outer longitudinal muscle layers driving peristalsis. Finally, the adventitia is the outermost connective tissue layer, anchoring the esophagus to surrounding structures. Each layer plays a vital role in its overall function. The magic of food transport lies in peristalsis. This involuntary, wave-like contraction propels the food bolus downwards. When food enters, local reflexes are triggered. The circular muscles behind the bolus contract, preventing backflow, while the longitudinal muscles ahead of it contract, shortening the tube. Simultaneously, the circular muscles in front relax, widening the lumen. This perfectly coordinated action creates a progressive wave, pushing the bolus efficiently towards the stomach. Adding to this, Tukey sphincters, the upper and lower esophageal sphincters, act as gatekeepers, ensuring one-way traffic and preventing reflux. Great work! Now, let's solidify your understanding with these medium-level questions. First, Can you list the four main layers of the esophageal wall, from the innermost to the outermost? Second, explain why we consider the esophagus primarily a transport tube rather than a digestive organ. Third, describe how the circular and longitudinal muscles work together to create peristalsis. Fourth, what is the crucial role of the lower esophageal sphincter? And finally, name one protective feature of the esophageal mucosa. Excellent! You've delved into the detailed structure and function. Now, let's elevate our understanding further, exploring the microscopic details, nervous control, and clinical connections. Let's examine the esophagus at a microscopic level. The stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium of the mucosa is a robust shield, protecting against the mechanical stress of food passage. The submucosa is not just connective tissue, it notably houses esophageal glands, which are mucus glands. These glands secrete mucus, which is absolutely vital for lubricating the food's passage and further protecting the delicate epithelium. What's even more fascinating is the muscularis externas composition. The upper third is skeletal muscle, allowing for voluntary swallowing initiation. The middle third is a mix, while the lower third is entirely smooth muscle, handling the involuntary, rhythmic contractions of peristalsis. This transition reflects a shift from conscious control to autonomic regulation as food progresses. The muscle types in the esophagus are specialized for their roles. The skeletal muscle in the upper esophagus allows for the voluntary initiation of swallowing, ensuring that you consciously start the process of eating. Conversely, the smooth muscle in the lower esophagus takes over for the involuntary, rhythmic contractions of peristalsis, efficiently pushing the food down. The inner circular muscle layer constricts the lumen, squeezing the food, while the outer longitudinal layer shortens the segment, pulling the esophagus over the bolus. This coordinated action generates the powerful propulsive wave. Furthermore, the nervous regulation of esophageal function is intricate. The initial voluntary phase sends signals to the skeletal muscle. But once the bolus enters, the involuntary phase kicks in, primarily governed by the enteric nervous system, often called the brain of the gut, within the esophageal wall. Vagal nerve stimulation, part of the parasympathetic system, enhances peristalsis, ensuring efficient food movement. Understanding the esophagus is crucial for recognizing common clinical conditions. For instance, gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, occurs when the lower esophageal sphincter fails to close properly, allowing stomach acid to reflux, causing that familiar burning sensation of heartburn and potential damage. Then there's achalasia, a rarer disorder where the les fails to relax, and the esophagus loses its ability to push food down, leading to food accumulation and difficulty swallowing. Esophagitis, or inflammation of the esophagus, can result from acid reflux, infections, or even certain medications. These conditions highlight the importance of proper esophageal function for overall digestive health. The swallowing reflex itself, known as deglutition, involves a complex interplay of oral, pharyngeal, and esophageal phases, with the esophageal phase being purely involuntary. Excellent work! Now, challenge yourself with these hard-level questions. First, how does the muscle composition of the esophagus change from its upper to lower regions, and what's the functional significance of this change? Second, explain the vital role of the enteric nervous system, or ENS, in regulating esophageal peristalsis. Third, differentiate clearly between the functions of the upper and lower esophageal sphincters. Fourth, imagine a patient experiencing frequent heartburn and regurgitation. What esophageal disorder is likely causing this, and what's its physiological basis? Fifth, describe the histological features of the esophageal mucosa and explain how they contribute to its protective function. Sixth, why is the esophageal adventitia, rather than a serosa, the outermost layer in most of its length? And finally, how does the secretion from esophageal glands in the submucosa aid in the passage of food? You've journeyed through the complexities of the esophagus. Now, Prepare to explore the cutting edge, delving into its developmental origins, advanced neurophysiology, comparative biology, and even engineering insights. The oesophagus has a fascinating developmental journey, originating from the foregut, a primitive tube formed during embryonic development. Its precise separation from the trachea is critical. Anomalies here can lead to severe conditions like tracheoesophageal fistula. Anatomically, it traverses the superior and posterior mediastinum, making it intimately related to major structures such as the aorta, the vital vagus nerves, and the thoracic duct. Its passage through the diaphragm via the oesophageal hiatus is a key anatomical landmark, and any weakness here can lead to conditions like a hiatal hernia. Understanding these deep anatomical relations is crucial for both diagnosis and surgical interventions. Let's dive into the advanced neurophysiology. Primary peristalsis, initiated by the swallow reflex, is exquisitely coordinated by the medullary swallowing center, which sends signals via vagal efferents to both skeletal and smooth oesophageal muscles. But what if food gets stuck? That's where secondary peristalsis comes in. It's triggered by distension of the oesophagus, independent of the initial pharyngeal phase, and is primarily mediated by the intrinsic enteric nervous system within the oesophageal wall. A key player in the digestive symphony is the lower oesophageal sphincter, and its relaxation is a complex process. It's mediated by inhibitory neurons within the ends, which release neurotransmitters like nitric oxide and vasoactive intestinal peptide, signaling the smooth muscle of the les to relax, allowing food to pass into the stomach. The oesophagus shows remarkable adaptations across species. Consider herbivores like ruminants. Their oesophagus possesses highly muscular walls with predominantly skeletal muscle throughout its length. This unique feature facilitates regurgitation, a crucial part of their rumination process, allowing them to rechew their cud. Birds, on the other hand, often feature a specialized pouch called a crop as an outpouching of the oesophagus. This acts as a temporary storage unit for food, allowing it to soften before further digestion. In contrast, fish have a much shorter oesophagus, often with minimal muscularization, a design suited to their aquatic environment and different feeding mechanisms. These comparative insights truly highlight how the oesophagus has evolved to meet diverse dietary needs and digestive strategies across the animal kingdom. Beyond common ailments, the oesophagus can be affected by complex pathologies. Barrett's esophagus, a serious complication of chronic GERD, involves the replacement of the normal stratified squamous epithelium with columnar epithelium, significantly increasing cancer risk. Oesophageal varices are enlarged veins, typically due to portal hypertension from liver cirrhosis, which are prone to rupture and severe, life-threatening bleeding. Scleroderma, a systemic autoimmune disease, can impair oesophageal smooth muscle function, leading to severe dysphagia and reflux. To diagnose these, clinicians use advanced modalities like endoscopy for visual inspection, oesophageal manometry to measure muscle pressures, pH monitoring to detect acid reflux, and barium swallow studies. The efficient, unidirectional transport of the oesophagus also inspires biomimetic engineering, guiding designs for soft robotics and pumping systems, and fueling research into artificial oesophagy for patients with severe damage. Alright, it's time for the ultimate challenge. Here are the first 5 questions for the hardest level. First, describe the embryological origin of the oesophagus and discuss the potential clinical implications if its separation from the trachea is incomplete. Second, differentiate between primary and secondary peristalsis, detailing the neural control mechanisms involved in each. Third, how does the oesophageal architecture in a ruminant differ from that of a human, and what functional advantage does this provide? Fourth, explain the progression from chronic GERD to Barrett's esophagus, including the cellular changes involved and the associated risks. And fifth, a patient presents with dysphagia and a bird's beak appearance on a barium swallow. What is the likely diagnosis, and what specific physiological defect does it indicate? Ready for the final 5? Let's tackle them. Sixth, discuss the roles of nitric oxide and vasoactive intestinal peptide in the regulation of the lower esophageal sphincter. Seventh, how do esophageal varices form, and why are they considered a medical emergency? Eighth, in the context of tissue engineering, what are the primary challenges in developing a functional artificial esophagus that truly mimics natural peristalsis? Ninth, compare and contrast esophageal manometry and pH monitoring as diagnostic tools for esophageal disorders. And 10th, outline the surgical principle behind fundoplication for GERD and explain how it addresses the underlying physiological issue. These questions will truly test your comprehensive understanding. And that brings us to the end of our incredibly detailed exploration of the food pipe, the esophagus. From its basic function to its complex neurophysiology and clinical relevance, you've gained a truly deep understanding. Remember, learning is a continuous journey, and Synapse is here to support you every step of the way. For more such engaging and comprehensive educational content, visit our website at synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for regular updates and more fascinating lessons. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep growing with Synapse.